Welcome everybody to another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines, and today, how to plan the perfect 30-day, one-month trip to the Philippines for single men. Men that are looking to meet a Filipina, men that think they may have already met their unicorn, men that want to sift, sort, and condense the girls they've met already, and those that are going to come boots on the ground. Today, we're going to cover 10 topics. Setting your travel goals. Which type of traveler are you? Let's put our plan together knowing who we are. What are the best Philippine travel destinations? We're going to go through the best tourist destinations, the best places to meet women. Understanding Filipino culture. Don't set a date with a girl without sending a grab car. She won't show up. Planning your budget. Depending on who you are and the type of trip you're going to make, let's talk about the budget that you need for a 30-day trip, what the airfare will cost, and what the accommodations will cost, meals, etc. What type of accommodations should you choose? We're going to go through it. Are you a hotel guy? Are you an Airbnb guy? What are the issues, and how do you make the most of your trip? How do you meet women here in the Philippines? Do you let them meet you at the airport? What's the best way to go about meeting them? And when you do meet them, how do you react when they cover their face and they're real shy? How do you plan so you have a flexible itinerary? You think you've met a unicorn, but in the first 3 days, there may not be that chemistry. There may be issues that show up. She may ask for money. You may find out that she doesn't show up at all. You have to be flexible. Maybe you want to meet more than one girl you met online. Maybe you want to date more than one girl when you do boots on the ground. You need to be flexible. And when you plan your trip, you don't want to prepay for airline tickets and hotel rooms that you're not going to end up using or you'll regret. How do we get around the Philippines? Are you going to rent a scooter, or are you going to take the other options that are available to you? We're going to talk about that and get specific. Where do you meet the girls, and what kind of social life do you expect to have? If you're traveling with a woman, what type of social life are you going to have? If you're looking for women at night, how are you going to handle meeting women, and where are you going to meet them? And what about some practical safety tips? We're going to talk about that too. You need to decide whether you want to go to Thailand on your way to the Philippines. You might decide that you don't want to just come directly to the Philippines. The Philippines is a place you come to meet a wife and a long-term girlfriend. That's what you can find here in the Philippines, old school girlfriends. It's not the place to come for transactional business. Do that elsewhere, and if you need to, and you might want to, you want to take your international travel destination from the West to Bangkok and return from Bangkok possibly, or start in Bangkok and then return from the Philippines. So if you want to go to Thailand, you're going to book 3 nights in Bangkok. You're going to stay in the Sukhumvit district. You're going to get on the subway at BKK Airport. You're going to take the elevated subway line to the Asok, A-S-O-K subway station. You're going to walk to Sukhumvit Suites if they're available. Right there at the subway station, you're going to be located near Soy Cowboy, near Nana Plaza, and you're going to do some tourism, and you're going to do some Bangkok nightlife, and you're going to get that out of your system in 3 days. You're going to take a taxi to Pattaya, 90 minutes, $50. You're going to taxi to Pattaya. You're going to stay at my favorite hotel, Siam, Siam at Siam, or that's going to be about $100 a night, or for a little bit less, you might stay at the Page 10 Hotel, or for $50 a night, you're going to get an Airbnb at the base condominiums. And you're going to enjoy Soi 6. You're going to do walking street just for the spectacle of it all. You're going to experience Thailand. And then after 10 days in Thailand, you're going to take a taxi back to BKK or DMG Airport, and you're going to fly to either Cebu City or Manila. I personally prefer to spend a couple of nights in Makati, and I fly to NAIA Terminal 3 normally, but international flights will land in either Terminal 1 or Terminal 3 in Manila. If you go to Cebu City, there's some other options I'll talk about in a second. If you get in late at night to Terminal 3, walk the Sky Bridge across 6 lanes of traffic, go to the Belmont Hotel for $70 a night, nothing special. If it's booked, walk 100 meters outdoors and you can get to the Savoy. If you land before 10 o'clock at night, just walk outside and get a white taxi. Go to the kiosk, get a chit, white taxi on the meter, 300 pesos, 12 minutes, boom, you're in Makati. I have an Airbnb I recommend. Many of my clients have stayed there and enjoyed it. Right near Legazpi Street, right near the Greenbelt Ball. Not 0.8 of a mile for $50 a night. It's $70 a night, just a few hundred meters from the Greenbelt Mall and Legazpi Street. No more taxis, no more difficulty with transportation, and you are in the right place. Location, location, location. Makati is the Beverly Hills of the Philippines, and it's a good way to ease your way into Asia, a developing country, and spend 2 nights there, and you will enjoy good restaurants, modern shopping complexes, good location for just walking about, and you can begin your exploration there. Now, if you go to Cebu City, you have a couple of options. There's a waterfront hotel nearby. You could go to a small IT park on Lapu-Lapu called Mocktown Newtown. You can get a high-rise condo overlooking the water. For me, it's a little too slow. I'd rather just fight the traffic when I land, spend $17 in a taxi. You're going to sit in traffic for half an hour, get down to the IT park, and stay at Avita Tower 1, Avita Tower 2, and just settle yourself in for 5 days when you first get there, especially if you're looking for a woman. Now, we have to talk about what you're doing and who you are. I mean, you can, not one size doesn't fit all. So there's 3 buckets or 3 silos we need to figure out where you fit. If you've met your unicorn, you've been video chatting for 3 hours a day, hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half at night, you're coming to collect your price. Well, that's a whole different type of itinerary and trip. Number 2, you think you met somebody interesting. You've got 2 or 3 girls you're talking to, plus you still want to meet girls boots on the ground. You're sort of doing a sift, sort, and condense job interview trip. Well, you might be able to pull it off. I mean, it's very, very difficult. They want to meet you in the airport. You know, when you leave Manila to go to Cebu City, they're wondering what you're up to. When you've been to Cebu City and you're coming to Manila, they're wondering what you're up to. Good luck. Some guys are able to do it. And if you can pull it off, more power to you. And the third type is you think you met somebody, but when you show up, it blows up. Or right before you get here, she tells you she's not going to meet you. Or you just come in boots on the ground. That's the third type of candidate. Now, I have another video I've made called 30-Day Budget, 30-Day Plan. It talks about that third type of candidate and the budget for 30 days just in the Cebu City area. Your boots on the ground, you're going to the IT park, you're going to take excursions in and out of the Cebu area. We have another video you can watch on that right here. And then I also have the 90-day plan. And the 90-day plan talks about banking, and it talks about SIM cards, and it talks about when to come and how to go about it, and whether you're the romantic or whether you're a passport bro, and whether you want to travel Asia before you come. And it's a little bit more of a broad overview. And that's another resource for you. Now, before we go into these 10 topics in detail, I have 4 PDFs I offer for free. You just have to email me, flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. Philippines has 1 L. I will send you free PDFs. One of them has 70 bullet points if you're thinking of relocating to the Philippines. It's a 1-year advanced planning tool. The second one is the Philippines 5 Essentials. It talks about bank cards. It talks about money wiring. It talks about SIM cards. It talks about travel insurance, best beaches, best scuba locations, and really the 5 essential things to get ready for your trip. Then I have 100 ways to win a Filipina. Get your online video chat game tuned up. Play some dating games online. Ask some questions that rapidly build intimacy. Make sure your video camera is complimentary. You don't want the woman looking at the bottom of your chin and you're leaning back all the time. Or don't be in bed when you talk to her. So just some technical how-to stuff. Send me an email, flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. I'll send it to you, no questions asked. Now, let's talk about these 10 topics that I mentioned. Setting your travel goals, okay? You gotta know who you are. So the first traveler, he met his unicorn. He's coming to see her. If she lives near Makati or near Cebu City, no problem. You're gonna set up shop. You're either going to the Quest Hotel or you're gonna get an Airbnb at the IT Park in Cebu. You're gonna get a beautiful Airbnb or a nice hotel in Makati or BGC. Have her come in from where she lives and meet you in that city and date her for 3 days. And after 3 days, you're going to have to go see your family, and you're going to have to buy a lechon and a bag of rice, and you're going to have a promise ceremony, and then you'll be free to travel the Philippines with that woman. A good province girl, a good church-going girl will, once you've gotten the blessing from the parents, she'll be free to go, and she'll post pictures of you guys on Facebook, and she'll be proud of her experience with you. That's one type of traveler. The other type of traveler, he doesn't want to be met at the airport. He doesn't want to meet the parents. He doesn't want to overcommit. He wants to meet the girl and then go meet girl number 2 or meet boots on the ground. And he is going to be able to maybe plan his second city and his third city in advance. The third type of traveler is just the boots on the ground guy. He's going to start his trip in the IT park in Cebu City. He's going to book 5 or 7 days, need no transportation. Start there and see what develops. If he meets a girl from the provinces, he's going to be off to the provinces to meet her family. If he meets a girl willing to travel with him, he's going to be off to a travel destination they both agree on, they're both comfortable going to. Okay? If you're the first traveler and you have some confidence that relationship is cemented, now you can plan some other destinations. So what are the best destinations in the Philippines? Well, in terms of tourist destinations, the number one and maybe tied is El Nido on Palawan Island. Spectacular limestone islands, cliffs jutting out of the water, day excursions for $35, $30 a day. Spectacular. I highly recommend you make it there. Number 2 is Boracay. It's maybe tied with El Nido. It's the best white sand beach maybe in the Philippines. Thailand, I think, has better white sand beaches than Boracay, but for here in the Philippines, Boracay is really nice. A lot of South Korean tourism, lots of restaurants, lots of upscale resorts. Number 3 would be Baguio up in the mountains. It's 4,500 feet. It's an overnight bus, it's 4-hour bus ride. You leave at midnight or 2 a.m. You arrive in Baguio, miss all the traffic, and you're up in the mountains with no air conditioning and no heat, no need. It's the summer retreat of the wealthy Filipinos. And when you're in Baguio, you can get up to Vigan for 2 hours north. It's like a Spanish colonial town that's well preserved on the coast. You can come down the coast to La Union to one of the surfing beaches. Siarago, on the northeast of my island, Mindanao, is the best surfing beach. Lots of backpacker type Westerners go there. The best time to go to Siarago is actually June, July, and August. Contrary to what you would think, during the rainy season, Siarago has its own weather pattern and it's spectacular. Now, January, February is a really good time to go to El Nido, Coron, Boracay. It's the mild part of the summer season. April 15th until May 30th is the hot part of our summer. It's 10 degrees hotter than normal, and I would avoid traveling around the Philippines from April 15th to May 30th. Other places you would want to go. Davao is tied with Cebu City at 2.3 million in the metro area for the second largest metro area after Manila. Davao is always mentioned as the safest and most organized infrastructure in the Philippines. Even though it's on Mindanao, it's in the yellow zone. It's rated level 2 by the U.S. State Department, which is use caution, which is probably anywhere you would go in Mexico would be that at a minimum. Also, Iloilo is well organized. Across the island, Panay Island, is Rojas City, where one of my friends has a vlog, and a nice beach and an interesting place to explore, but not too busy, not too active. And then you could go to Panglao on Bohol. It's probably after Boracay, it's the second beach destination. Lots of scuba, lots of white sand beach, lots of hotels, lots of tourism there, but not as intense as Boracay. And obviously, Cebu City is a launching point for cheap flights, quick flights, ferry rides. You can get an overnight ferry to Cagayan de Oro, where I live, and you can get ferries to Dumaguete and to Siquijor Island. And it's a really great place to just see the southern Visayas. Now, places where I live, and you see me living here in this gated subdivision overlooking a canyon, well, I'm in the suburbs, I'm in Uptown. If you just went to Detroit and you just bumbled around on your own and got a $35 a night hotel, well, you'd be in a bad neighborhood and there'd be bad infrastructure and no supermarkets open. But if you visited a friend and you took a SUV out to a suburb in a gated subdivision where you lived on a lake and you had a powerboat and you water skied for 3 days, you might think Detroit was heaven on earth. And the Philippines can be that way too. When you just go to Dumaguete and you don't know anybody, you're going to find it's kind of crowded and stinky. And there's no beach at the boardwalk. And if you're not the kind of guy that wants to hang out at bars and talk up expats, you might find that the Filipinos there have been they've been picked through. There's just too much intense activity for the available women there. So that might not be the town for you. But if you had a friend in Dumaguete and he, had a place out 20 minutes away in Darwin, or he had a place up in Valencia and he had a gorgeous house with a beautiful view and a breeze at night and he could take you to the best restaurants, you might have a different perspective on Dumaguete. Same thing with Cagayan de Oro and other places in the Philippines. Once you've lived there and you know where to go and you have your own transportation, things can seem quite nice. But for you, this is a 30-day exploration trip, so you got to be prepared to make the most of your time. And you don't want to end up in a city that's loud and noisy and the sidewalks are buckling and the spaghetti wires for electricity. You don't want to be in that kind of roadkill environment. So we want to help you in this video and walk you through that a little bit. Understanding Filipino culture is the first step in having a good trip. They don't speak as much English as you expect, and they will be very shy and cover their mouths. When you ask a security guard for directions, he'll point you in the wrong direction because he's embarrassed not to tell you that he doesn't know. The girls can speak better English than they'll let on. They're very, very shy at first. It's very difficult for them to start talking English. They may not have spoken it for a month. They see it, they read it. They actually can speak it pretty good, but if they haven't practiced or they don't have confidence and they don't want to embarrass themselves, they can lock up. So be prepared for that, especially if you're a boots on the ground guy. Give them a little bit of room, and boots on the ground. You got to approach a woman like you would a deer in the backyard. You got to approach very cautiously from a 45-degree angle, like you're walking up to a deer trying to feed it. And be calm, cautious, and don't spook her is the most important thing. But she'll be very pleasant, and if she's willing to just let you go on your way, she's not interested. But if she asks you if you're married or where's your girlfriend, boom, she's interested, and there's lots of opportunity there. Now, what's it going to cost to take this trip? Okay, right now you should be able to get airfare to the Philippines for about $1,100 US. And quite often there are trips that'll take you, it'll be a 30-hour trip, but it could be beneficial. There's one right now on Eva Air. 10 hours in Taiwan. You can stay at a terminal, at a hotel in the airside at the terminal, or you can walk across the street and get 7 hours of shut-eye and a shower, and then take that 5-hour flight to the Philippines. Boom, you'll be fresh. So you can do tickets like that. There's also non-stops from the West Coast, 14 hours and 20 minutes roughly, and boom, you are in Manila or Cebu City. In Cebu City, you can stay at the Waterfront Hotel, you can go to Mactan Newtown, or you can just fight the traffic and go to the IT Park and settle in. So when it comes to planning your budget, if you've met your unicorn, you might want to open up your wallet a little bit, and you might want to spend $75 a night on a good Airbnb or a good hotel. $50 a night will get you an average accommodation. In Davao, an Airbnb for $50 would be quite nice. In Dumaguete, $50 for Airbnb, quite nice. $30 hotels you can find everywhere in the Philippines, $35 a night hotels, pool, internet, 3-star hotels, you'll be fine. You might not have the best location. When it comes to finding accommodations, be careful about the environmental issues like noise and air pollution. If you book long term, you could run into trouble. I recommend 3 nights, and then if you want to stay longer, go ahead and investigate in person. Filipinos don't leave bad reviews on Airbnb. So whenever you see a Filipino give a really complimentary review, you want to discount it. You want to find the foreign travelers and see what they're saying, and carefully look for those negative comments about noise, people burning trash, roosters, dogs, other problems. The neighbor might be running a business and having the door knocked on every 5 minutes. So be careful when booking accommodations, and leave yourself flexibility, because you might need to change plans. You don't want to commit to an Airbnb, commit to a hotel, commit to an airline flight, and just to save a few dollars. When you get here, you might need that flexibility to make changes. So no matter which of these three types of travelers you are, be flexible. Don't overcommit. You know, the prices are not going to change too much. Airfare might change from $40 to $75 if you book last minute. So it's not too big a premium to pay to have the flexibility. Now, when it comes to getting around the Philippines and the cost, if you're willing to go out on a motor scooter, rent a motor scooter, you've got your freedom. It's going to be dirt cheap, gas is cheap. Entry fees everywhere you want to go are like next to nothing, a nickel $3.95, so inexpensive. But there's some risks involved. People don't use their lights at night. There will be ditches, drainage ditches uncovered on the side of most roads. You will see an open ditch for drainage, and you know, if you make one wrong turn on that motor scooter, you're in the ditch. Or you have other obstacles that are quite challenging. But if you're a strong rider and you're willing to risk it, that's going to be your best approach. If you're in a place like Dumaguete, they have trikes. The trikes there are 20 pesos a ride, but they'll stop and drop off, and it's not point A to point B with only you. They're going to pick up other passengers, and it could be quite interesting, and you could be inhaling that tailpipe the whole way too. Here in Cagayan de Oro, we have taxis. They're super cheap. You know, I go downtown for $5 US. The longest drive I take in town is $6 US. Our airport's a little far away, so you might have to pay like $17 US to get to the airport. But all the local taxi rides are super cheap. If you get a bad taxi, then get out. If the air conditioner's not working, if it sounds like the cab's falling apart, the brakes don't work, just get out. Don't be rude. Tell him you changed your mind. Give him his money. Book another taxi. Grab works in the cities like Cebu and Makati, but it always costs a little bit more than taking a white taxi. There's an app called Roam 2, the number 2 Rio. Roam, number 2 Rio, and it'll tell you how to get from point A to point B anywhere on the planet, and it works in the Philippines, and it'll tell you how much it costs and how long to use your own car, to take a taxi, to take a bus, to take a ferry, to fly, and you can link to the ferries and the bus companies. Very useful tool. And then if you're booking excursions, I recommend a company called Klook, K-L-O-O-K. The airfare in the Philippines is going to run like $30, $40 each way. If you book last minute, it might be $80. Now, I mentioned the best tourist cities and where you might go. I like to get up to Baguio and get out of the heat. I also like to get to Coron, which is an island which has got white beaches and amazing scuba, World War II Japanese shipwrecks you can scuba and snorkel. And then you can fly on an airline called Air Swift from Coron to El Nido, from El Nido to Boracay. And then from Boracay, you can go back to Panglao or back to Cebu City and see the Visayas that way. I highly recommend that itinerary. You have to use Air Swift to fly into El Nido. But once you're in El Nido, you can fly nonstop directly to Boracay. You have to use a service, or I recommend you use a service called myboracayguide.com to get from the airport onto the island and back off the island to the airport. There's a little hassle involved. They'll whisk you through it for $20 US per person each way. Well worth it. Now, after you've been to Coron, after you've been to El Nido, after you've been to Boracay, now you hit the tourist spots. You might want to go to Iloilo, you might want to go to Dumaguete, you might want to go to Panglao to see another beach, you might want to come to Cagayan de Oro to meet me, and you might want to go to Davao, which is a very clean and organized city. So in terms of getting around and getting connected, those are some itineraries that we could plan for you, or you could plan for yourself to maximize your time in the 30 days. It's not going to cost you a lot more to change location, jump on a plane, and go. In terms of your social life and your nightlife, you know, I don't like to be out late at night, and it's really important that if you do go out late at night and you're drinking, you take a grab car directly back to your Airbnb or back to your hotel. Don't weave out of the bar late at night and worm your way back. It's only 3 blocks, no problem. That's a losing proposition. So unless you go with friends out to a disco or a nightlife and they've been there and they know how to get in and out safely, use some caution. But in terms of where to meet the women, like if you go to the IT Park, Cebu City, you need to ask the vendors, when do the girls congregate? You can go on Google and see when the hours for that cafe are busy. When do they do the most business? And it'll show you what time of day it's busiest. You can see for the bar, the nightlife place, and you can ask the vendors when the girls congregate. They work very unusual hours. You're going to have to sort that out. The malls are really the center of everything here in the Philippines, so you should be able to find opportunity at the malls. In terms of practical safety tips, I recommend you use a company called Safety Wing for your travel insurance. It won't cover you if you're zip lining or you're doing whitewater rafting and some of these crazy adventure sports, so be aware of that. But it's good to have, and it's based on your age, and it's quite reasonable. I recommend that you be careful about eating any foods that aren't roasted, boiled, or that you can peel. Basically, there is a hack. If you have alcohol and you've eaten some street food or you've eaten something that you're worried, you can take a shot of hard liquor after your meal, and that should protect you. When I went to India, they told me if you dropped your fork on the floor and the waiter rushed over and replaced it, you had to check the fork that he brought you, that there wasn't one droplet of water left on the fork. That would be all it would take to give you deli belly. Well, here in the Philippines, don't brush your teeth with the tap water. Only drink bottled water. The locals just drink bottled water. They don't drink tap water, but they brush their teeth with it. They use it for cooking, and they're not worried if the dishes are wet or the glasses are wet, okay? The ice in restaurants and in service environments is safe to drink, but be careful about the street food here. In Thailand, you can eat this roasted street food in the stir fries. They're pretty safe to eat, but you have to be careful about the street food here in the Philippines. The Philippines, if you go to a birthday party, that food will have been sitting out from 12 until 8 o'clock at night. It doesn't get refrigerated. And their stomachs are used to it, but yours might not be. So be a little bit careful that way. Also, when walking around the city and your head's on a swivel, be careful. The sidewalks tend to be buckled, and there tend to be obstacles in your path, and you could trip and fall very easily here. The infrastructure is weak, and there's people that are zipping around on motorcycles and big, heavy jeepneys zooming in and out. So be careful and make sure that your balance is good. You might want to hit the gym a little bit and make sure you've got good mobility, but be careful walking around the cities, because you could run into a toe kick at a moment's notice on the sidewalk here. In terms of other safety considerations, I have a rule which is never to conduct business with anyone who approaches me. So if I'm trying to figure out how to buy a subway token, or if I'm trying to figure out how to use a ticket machine, or if I'm reading a restaurant menu, anyone walks up to me and wants to sell me something, wants me to come to their restaurant, wants me to go to a cafe with them, they want, never, ever, ever. I just say no. Traveling internationally is always best if you have somebody you know in the country. And if you're interested in a 90-minute video consultation or having a big brother in the Philippines you could reach out to, email me at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me. Make that trip to the Philippines. Decide if you want to go to Thailand first, but get here to the Philippines. Find your version of paradise. Thanks again for watching another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines.